Welcome to the Ep2 Journal Conversations, hosted here at the Sankara Pan-African Library and Cafe. My name is David Kanje, and I'm glad to be your host. We are going to be in conversation with the contributors of their mirrors and happiness issues. I'm excited to be hosting a lady that is known in the circles of poetry and short story writing and everything cool about writing. Yes, Mabel Amron.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
My name is David Kanje, and I'm glad to have you on this beautiful set at Sankara Library and Cafe.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a bit about yourself and what your role is on this series.
Like David has said, I am generally a cool person. I don't know if he has said cool, but I will take it. We shall go with that.
Yeah.
My name is Mabel Amron, and I am the editorial coordinator for Ep2 Publishing.
That sounds cooler. What does that entail?
A lot of...
Are you the one who kicks out bad writing and brings in good writing? Like, is that your role? Are you the guy? Are you the one to be beaten anyway?
I mean, every single writer goes through some beating in some kind of way, you know. We have to...
You specialize in the beating?
I specialize in the beating, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
How cool.
Because I was beaten myself, so you know, you have to have been beaten.
Carry the mantle forward.
Yes, okay. Exactly.
I like that. Is this your first time contributing to
No.
the journal?
No, it's not my first time contributing to the journal.
Okay.
I contributed a while back. I wrote a book review for Billy Kahora's book.
Okay.
Yeah, and then after that I wrote about surviving the pandemic, grief through a pandemic.
You're one of the experts that came out of the pandemic?
No, but I feel like we all were experts at a certain point because we were reading research papers and googling and
some. So
yeah, so
one of the COVID experts. Congratulations! Thank
you very much.
In this series, we see your contribution is in form of poetry, beauty in motion, the power of poetry, and tell us about this. Like, why poetry? Of course, why not poetry?
Why not poetry? Thank you for that question. So the idea was to write about poetry, to write about what poetry means to me as a person.
And what does it mean?
So me first, take the long way to get to you.
Okay.
I'm here. Thank you. So the first draft that I wrote was, I just wrote about like the history of poetry. I gave so much data, and my editor beat me and told me, why don't you just write about what poetry actually means to you and how you first discovered it and how you fell in love with it. And that was what I wrote about when after the initial draft.
Okay.
Yes.
So you wanted to do something you wanted to write a research paper on history, or rather on poetry.
So
to you or to the entire community?
I don't think we can fully think about the breadth of poetry, but what I had written was just a small summary, and then after the summary I'd started to write about how I discovered poetry myself growing up. But
and you met poetry through Shakespeare. Where was that? On Mutungo Hill?
Shakespeare and I are buddies, from way back. We just walk around the street and hold conversations together.
Send my greetings.
Yeah, but no, like the first time that I first interacted with poetry was when I was about 7, 8, but it was that very cheesy poetry, that kind.
Not the Shakespearean type.
Not the Shakespearean type.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
To ask for an exit.
So 7, you know, and things like, or you're going to perform at school events like sports shows or
Did you ever do a
MDD
poem on
or
AIDS? Because for us we did. Like I think everyone did.
we might have, but the one that sticks out is corruption.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yours, like, okay. I thought corruption was a recent thing. It's been around.
It has. Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things that just go out of style and then just come back into style. Go out of style, come back into style. Like
Okay.
jeans.
And when was that? Okay. Without necessarily bringing out anything to do with your age. But how recent?
We shall move past that question on to the next one.
You say somewhere in your essay that poets are surgeons that cut deep into our souls. How many scars do you have?
Multiple. Like I feel like right now where I am, my body is just held up by scars.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You know, like what's that lady's name? The one of coat of many colors. So yours is a coat of many scars.
It's a cut of many scars.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
So each scar tells a different tale.
Each scar is a different story. Yes.
Okay. What
Yeah.
are those poems?
So there are way too many to count, and a lot of the time it's you finding a poem when you're feeling a certain kind of way and that poem just speaking to how you're feeling, even like putting words and thoughts and feelings into what you couldn't yourself put words and thoughts and feelings into. Like you couldn't put words to that feeling that you are feeling, but that poet, whoever that poet is, just could have like had like an x-ray and could just describe. Yeah.
You find yourself in their work.
You find yourself in their words. You see yourself reflected back in their words.
Oh, interesting. And so you talk a lot about poetry and the soul. What is the correlationship between these two that is so unique to you?
Okay, so the soul is the. A lot of people think that the heart is the like the center of a person, but I believe that it's the soul. And
you see, the thing is, the soul has no address. Where is the soul? The heart has an address.
But you know, when we are speaking about these things, we are not talking about biology, because you know the heart, you know where the heart is, but it's like biologically that's where it's placed. But
And the soul is somewhere.
the soul is within us, around us, everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah, and because I believe that every living thing has a soul, and I believe that poetry is the soul of humanity.
Okay.
Yeah.
You also talk a lot about mental health in your work. Help us understand why are you particularly interested in mental health?
Mental well-being is such an important thing for a good life.
Okay.
But so many of us are suffering through different mental illnesses, or you know, we're not okay, but we can't say that. So when it comes to my work or to anyone's work that writes about mental health, it's almost like I said before, this person is holding up a mirror to who you are as a person, and letting you know that, you know, this is, I see you, that this is what you're feeling, this is what I'm feeling as well, and somehow that makes you not feel alone. Yeah.
So you feel occupied.
Yeah. Surrounded.
Poetry appeals to people differently.
Yes.
Some, it's the written, others, it's the oral. Which one appeals to you?
Both.
There's always one which is... But okay, tell us why. Like, tell us...
Like there's one of those parents who says, I do not have a favorite child. I do not have a favorite child.
No, but,
Yeah.
but for you, when you turn to poetry as a means of, as a healing, to seek healing and guidance, so what exactly are you? What works for you? Is it writing it down, reading it out aloud, or reading the written word?
You're making me choose between my children, David. Why are you doing this to me?
It's okay, you can say your favorite children are the twins. So. Because at the end of the day, the reason I ask this is because it can be one poem,
Yeah.
and it appeals to people differently.
Yeah. Poetry is subjective. It depends on the person, how they can interpret it to themselves, and how that poem particularly speaks to their lives.
Beauty in motion. How
Beauty
does it
in
speak
motion.
to you?
For me, it's again a reflection of my feelings, a reflection of my thoughts, a reflection of me.
Okay. I like the clever way in which you've answered that. But as a COVID expert on writing these things, Why
are you throwing COVID in my things?
No, it's because you became the expert at that time. You wrote about. Okay, but away from that, do we see more work coming out from you in this line?
In regards poetry?
Yeah.
I don't know. It took me a very long time to consider myself a poet, and
how long?
Very, very ridiculously long.
So do we see you as a published poet soon?
I don't know. I think I just have to get over my fear.
Something. No. You can't have I don't know as your answer.
Yeah.
But tell us,
But isn't it a valid answer though?
I don't know. They know. But tell us, at what point did you come to that, the meeting point of the intersection and say, okay, I can express my better things?
I think I go between, no, I'm not a poet, to, I guess I could do it, to, I think I'm just a connoisseur of poetry, of good poetry, like I just like what I like. It's varied. Find me on a good day and I'll tell you which one.
Okay. And this happens to be?
I don't know.
Thank you very much, Mabel, for your time.
Thank you for having me.
For writing and contributing to the Ibua Journal. The journal is published by Ibua Publishing, and it can be accessed on the website. Just subscribe for the annual access, and you'll have all the work written by Mabel and other wonderful writers. Thank you for watching this episode of the Ibua Journal Conversations. A big thank you to our host, Sankara Pan-African Library and Cafe. To watch more of these conversations, visit www.ibuapublishing.com.